Welcome back to the studio, I'm Laura. Today, while I paint this dog, I'll be talking about some routines that I'm trying to build in 2025. A few days ago, I was watching some of those glow up your life videos on YouTube, and I was doing some brainstorming of things that I personally would like to change and just improve about myself in the coming year. Probably the most notable video of the ones I watched was from Lena Lifts on YouTube, and it was a recent video of hers where she was saying that in order to create lasting change and, actually have the desired outcome, you have to be able to create a habit of the thing that you're trying to achieve. This made total sense to me, so I started implementing a couple of those things over the past week, and I wanted to share my thoughts on how it's been going for me. To start, I just took out a notebook and I wrote down the first 10 things I could think of that were important to me that I wanted to improve this year. I won't be able to share all of them in this video, but I will share the ones that I think are the most universally important. When I wrote down my list of 10 things, I left space after each thing to write down what I think the habit can be to improve that area of life. So the first thing on my list, of course, is I wanted to feel rested and energetic. Then the first things I could think of how to improve this for myself would be sleep schedule, vitamins, fitness, and food. I already have a habit of taking my vitamins almost daily, so that's a really good thing. I'm pretty fit. I go to the gym a few times a week, I do Pilates, I walk every day, and I enjoy dancing, so I have fitness in my life already. Since I already have 2 of those things down as a habit already, I don't need to worry about them as much. What I do need to worry about changing are my sleep schedule and my nutrients, because I think what you eat definitely affects how much energy you have. To have healthier meals, I've been doing a lot of meal prepping for the past couple of weeks, so then I have all my food already made, and then there's a lot less temptation to eat out or have sugary foods. In her video, Lena also pointed out that when it comes to your sleep schedule, you don't want to be on technology an hour before bed and the hour after you wake up. Kind of as an experiment, I tried it out and I have to say it was, no pun intended, a night and day difference. An unfortunate contributor to my lack of sleep is scrolling on my phone before bed, because, you open your phone just to do one last check before you go to sleep, and then before you know it, it's like 1 a.m. and you've been scrolling for 3 hours. And I'm of the opinion that the no tech an hour after you wake up is equally as beneficial, because I've just started setting a timer that goes off an hour after my wake-up alarm, and for that first hour of the day until the alarm goes off, I don't open my phone at all. And just to clarify, I am including podcasts and music in this rule as well, even though they're not as much screen time. And you know what, as torturous as it may seem, what I've found from this little experiment is my mind is so much clearer. I used to wake up and then I would lay in bed and try to think about things, and I was incapable of it. My mind was trying to think of a dozen things at once, and I could not stay focused on one thought in my mind, which is kind of crazy. Since I was realizing that taking technology out of my bedtime and wake-up routine was having such a shocking effect, I decided to take it a step farther and take it out of other areas of my life as well. I would usually listen to podcasts when I'm doing things that do not require a podcast, such as walking places, cooking, eating, studying, just things that do not require that much mental stimulation. And you know what? I don't miss it at all, because now my mind feels like my own and I can think about whatever I have to think about. It's like before, my mind didn't belong to me. And you can still get the positive effects of this experience without completely removing technology from your life. I'm not saying you have to go off-grid, because that is definitely not what I did. I still listen to things quite regularly, especially when I'm painting or if I'm doing mundane tasks like chores or laundry or cleaning things. Technology is quite literally taking over our lives, and I think we have to have some moderation. And moderation can be challenging, but just setting these basic guidelines for myself has really opened my eyes to how much I'm using my phone. Alright, so now I'm feeling more rested, which is great. But the problem is, in order to sustain this habit, I do need to replace my phone with something. And that something was number 7 on my list. And that thing on my list was to read more books. Now, you'll notice that I listed a few things where I'm usually on my phone, such as eating or before bed, where I could be reading books. So that is what I decided to fill my time with. I literally went to the library just on impulse and picked out 2 books, and I brought them home, and I read those 2 300-page books in 6 days. It's kind of crazy to see that the time I'm spending on my phone is equivalent to 100 pages a day of a book. But if you were to ask me which one is better for my mind, it's probably going to be the book over my phone. Now, the books I'm reading are not educational by any means, they're simply novels that I find enjoyable that I picked up. It is so much more beneficial than the alternative of scrolling. So even though I would still like to study other books and take notes, having novels to read is a lot better for my mental health and just my mind in general than scrolling on reels that I'll instantly forget. All that to say is that these changes that I've made so far, just in the past couple of weeks, have already showed so much positive change in my life. And additionally, I've had people telling me that I seem more relaxed and less stressed, which is really crazy that people can actually tell when you're well rested or not. And your body will also tell you when you need more rest, because with my vision, I've noticed that it has been quite blurry lately, and then when I started this new routine, suddenly it became oddly clear. For real, my optometrist was not lying when she said that screens and sleep are big contributors in how good your vision is. All that to say is listen to your optometrist and go to bed on time, and avoid screens when you are going to bed and waking up, because it has made a huge difference. And try to read at least 1 book a week, but only read it in the time that you would usually be on your phone, because you might be surprised how much reading you can get done when you used to be on your phone. Now, you may have noticed that I just improved upon 2 of my 10 things on my list, so that still leaves 8 other things that I am far from mastering. Quite honestly, I think the things that I have improved upon are probably the easiest of the list. And the reason for that is because of something called habit stacking, which Lena also talked about, but I have heard of before. Habit stacking is when you take a pre-existing routine or habit and then you add a new habit onto it, because then it helps you create a new routine. For example, me reading more is an easy habit to add because I'm doing it when I'm going to bed, for example, and I go to bed every day, obviously, so I'm simply adding reading into my bedtime routine. And generally, when you add something new to a routine, it takes more time, of course. So sometimes you'll have to take something out to create more time. In this case, I took out scrolling on my phone, which this works really well because I want to spend less time on my phone and more time reading, which makes this change in my life probably the easiest example of habit stacking. An example of something that has been difficult for me to create a habit of is painting, actually, which is kind of ironic because I'm a painter, but now that I've spent some time thinking about this, I actually know why. Since I started painting 2 years ago, all of the paintings I've created have been because of necessity, either because someone was waiting for them, they were needed for a show, or I set my own personal deadline for them. However, none of these paintings were created out of habit. And quite honestly, I've been struggling to paint lately, and I think it's because I have less necessity, so there's not that urgency right now, because I'm not preparing for any shows, and I don't have any paying clients. The 4th thing that I had put on my list was I wanted to paint and draw more regularly, just of my own free will and not of necessity, so in order to do this, I need to habit stack. In order to make this a long-lasting habit, I have to find something that I already do regularly, every day, that I can add painting onto, even if it's just for an hour. A prime example of a habit I could stack painting with would be eating dinner, because I eat dinner every day without fail, and it would be very simple to just add an hour of painting after my dinner. This works really well for me because I'm a very routine-oriented person, if you couldn't tell. And having the same order in which things are done every day just makes me a lot less stressed. I then use the time between routines for things that are on my to-do list or tasks that have priority. And how I prioritize things is simply in this mental hierarchy I have of how many other people are involved, and what will the consequences be if I do not prepare properly. For example, if I have a job to go to, that is a higher priority than finishing a YouTube video. Also, this is a more effective way to see tangible progress with something, because if I'm painting for even just an hour every day, then I'm still painting 30 hours a month, which is significantly more than if I do 2 hours a week because of procrastination. I 100% recommend trying out these techniques in your own life because they've shown so many positive improvements for myself. To recap, you want to get started by taking out a notebook and jotting down the first 10 things you can think of that you want to change about your life. And don't worry about how silly people might think the things are, because no one has to see your list. I have some surface level things and some deep things on my list, for example, wanting to improve my appearance and wanting to only spend time on people who value my friendship. So they can be pretty much anything that is kind of bothering you about how your life is now. And then take that list and go through it and just brainstorm what habits could improve those areas of life for you. You want to avoid overwhelming yourself, so take 1 or 2 of those habit changes that you came up with and find a way to habit stack them and implement them into your pre-existing routines. If you try this, I recommend giving it at least 2 weeks of consistency before you judge it, because sometimes it takes a while to really build a new routine. So give it a chance, and please comment below if you do try it, because I'd love to hear how it goes for different people. Please go show Lena some love on her channel because she was the inspiration for this experiment, and it's been going so well. And Lena, I want to let you know, if you watch this, I greatly appreciate it because your advice has been so helpful. And thank you so much everyone for watching, because this has been a very interesting video to make, and I hope that it has been helpful for you. Meanwhile, while I've been rambling, I have nearly finished this dog portrait, which turned out so well. I'm actually very surprised at how it turned out, and it has a lot of the qualities that I would really like for my future work to embody. It's a much better likeness than any of my previous dog portraits, and I also love how chunky my brushwork is. It's really going in the right direction. I'll be posting again on February 1st, so please subscribe if you haven't already, and until next time, happy painting.